Have you all heard about the intense world theory of autism? Because this shit explains my entire existence. This is from the National Institute of Health and the National Library of Medicine. The intense world theory, a unifying theory of the neurobiology of autism. We propose a unifying theory of autism and the intense world theory. The proposed neuropathy is hyperfunctioning of local neuromicrocircuits, best characterized by hyperreactivity, hyperplasticity. And the hyperfunctional microcircuits are speculated to become autonomous and memory trapped, leading to the core cognitive consequences of hyperperception, hyperattention, hypermemory, and hyperemotionality. Pause to read, but to sum up, basically we are extremely sensitive to trauma and all types of input of stimuli, and it becomes trapped in our memory and we cannot erase it and we cannot get over it, basically. And then because of this, it says the autistic is proposed to become trapped in a limited but highly secure internal world with minimal extremes and surprises. We have hyperfunctioning neural microcircuits in our brain, so that leads to hyperreactivity and hyperplasticity. Hyperfunctional microcircuits are proposed to easily become autonomous, leading to runaway information processing, over-specialization in tasks, and a hyperpreference syndrome. Hyperperception, hyperattention, hypermemory, hyperemotionality. And these 4 dimensions could potentially explain the full spectrum of symptoms in autism. Hyperconnectivity in the brain, this is talking about how we have 50% more neural connections in our brain. 50% more neural connections is definitely going to lead to us all feeling like we're psychics, empaths, because we're picking up on things that other people aren't picking up on constantly. And because we have a hyperreactive issue to all of this and we have a hyper memory to all of it, it's like the patterns are there, and as soon as we see someone, we remember instantly, like through past experiences and stuff, what that person is probably going through based on their demeanor, their facial expressions, the way they're holding themselves, so on and so forth. And yes, this article does mention how trauma can exacerbate that and make it worse. So please don't comment, oh, this is just from trauma, because no, it's included in the study. It doesn't discount all the other information. We have hyper learning. The neocortical columns are hyperreactive and hyperplastic, and there could be significant consequences for perception, attention, as well as learning and memory. They used VPA in rats, and the VPA is a chemical that basically causes the brains of the rats to perform like an autistic brain. And the rats were trained with a reward system to discriminate between a wide and narrow pathway, and using their whiskers, which are like human fingertips, to be able to feel their way around. And basically the offspring that were exposed to the VPA learned to memorize better and faster which one to choose. Hyperfear, this explains all of our anxiety issues, extreme anxiety, and fear is located in the amygdala, and the amygdala is impacted. So it says the VPA treated animals store fear memories in an exaggerated and more persistent manner than the non-exposed animals. Oh, and the bottom down here says generalized learn fear more easily to similar stimuli, and once fear to a particular stimulus configuration is acquired, it is difficult to erase. Right below me, enhanced fear memory formation and a progressive generalization of fears could have major consequences on behavior and account for inappropriate reactions to the environment, sudden and apparently inexplicable anxiety attacks, loss of the finesse required in social interactions, and phobias. The intense world that the autistic person faces could also easily become aversive if the amygdala and related emotional areas are significantly affected with local hyperfunctionality. The lack of social interaction in autism may therefore not be because of deficits in the ability to process social and emotional cues, but because a subset of cues are overly intense, compulsively attended to, excessively processed, and remembered with frightening clarity and intensity. Typical autistic symptoms such as averted eye gaze, social withdrawal, and lack of communication may be explained by an initial over-awareness of sensory and social fragments of the environment, which may be so intense that avoidance is the only refuge. If that does, I'm a little speechless. Hold on. If that doesn't explain literally everything, especially for high masking autistics, I don't know what does.